A lot of movies I watched this year are actually really good, like really decent movies. So this list was really difficult to make. Many of the stuff I left off were actually on the list at one point or another and had to be taken off because I watched something better. But of course, I just had to have what I thought was the best, the creme de la creme of 2013. Some honorable mentions, I guess.
Un, dos, tres, cuatro.
10. There were about 4 black and white movies I watched last year, and when coming up with this list I was like, I need to at least have one. And when I was finalizing it, I said, wow, I'm glad I have at least one. And then when I was making this video, I said, oh wait, Inside Llewyn Davis isn't black and white, it's just very bleak and dark and depressing. The cinematography is so ghostly and cold that it really leaves that impression of black and white on you, and it's just very sad. Llewyn Davis, played by Oscar Isaac, is just an enigma of a character. Just never know if he's happy or sad, or if the people who care about him actually hate him, or if the people who hate him actually care about him. Just a puzzling creature. And the emotion of the film really comes straight from the music, which is probably one of the most important parts of the film, and definitely what keeps it stuck in my head. The film and the music. If you leave this one without Fairly Well stuck in your head, because it's played about 15 times throughout the film, you probably have deeper issues that you should probably not be going to the movies to see. Other people with deep issues. Upside Down 6. Now for the opposite of black and white. Only God Forgives is Nicholas Winding Refn's follow-up to the successful Drive, starring Ryan Gosling, same as Only God Forgives. Is this film as successful? If you mean in the sense of, did it make a lot of money and did people love it and people wear jackets with scorpions on the back, then the answer is no. This one actually took me about 3 times to watch to be like, yes, I think I got everything I need from this film, and I would really recommend the repeat viewings. The way Refn uses color and lighting adds more to the plot than the dialogue ever could, mainly because there's no dialogue ever. Ryan Gosling says 8 sentences in this movie. Sure, the heaven and hell, good and bad imagery is a little heavy-handed, but the reoccurring hands symbolism is enough to keep me interested and going, yeah, I think I'm about it. Eat past tense. With all the films that dealt with racial prejudice this year, none more successful than Ryan Coogler's directorial debut, Fruitvale Station. The director has the intelligence to know that what needs to be represented on the film is not some angel just showing how amazing this person was and then they were just taken away from us. It's what he presents to us is a real life person who makes real life human choices. He's a person who has struggles and hardships that he has to deal with one way or the other, sometimes the other. This film is so important to have been released around the Zimmerman trials and what's going on right now with Kendrick Johnson. It's just a really good parallelism with art and the real world. Yeah, 7. Blue is the Warmest Color is the 3-hour lesbian porn extravaganza starring blue hair and brown hair and... The French title of the film is La Vie d'Adèle, right? Parts 1 and 2. And really, this film is exactly that, the life of Adele. Starting from when she's in high school, to her first love, to her first lesbian love, to just following her with these telling close-ups that just, if you're not a fan of watching someone sleep, then this movie might not be for you. The film takes a look in the life of someone who is really just trying to find purpose, She looks for it in love, in art, in her career, in other people. And Exarchopoulos is so good that it makes it worth watching for the 3 hours in duration. You watch her sleep, you watch her go to school, you watch her be with her friends, you watch her have sex, you watch her shower, you watch her cry, you watch her eat, you watch her everything. If you can't find the beauty of watching the saga of years of a person's life for 3 hours, in the movie's for you. Normal side up 6. As a person who enjoys all walks of life and film and cinema, I had to have a doc on the list. And there wasn't one that I watched this year that left me with such emotion and just one of the most strangest experiences I've ever had watching a movie without actually anything happening. Leviathan is an experimental documentary where the directors just put a bunch of GoPro cameras around a fishing vessel and just let us see what happens. The film has no narrative, and if that's what you're looking for in the movie, then it's not for you. But I really admired the fact that it chose that approach to tell you nothing about it, but still leaving us with hope that maybe something is going to happen. It really shows how audiences really crave narrative from anything. We need purposes and heroes and days to be saved, declarations of independence to be stolen. In this film, whether it's a fish head moving side to side off from a boat or a guy falling asleep on his dinner watching TV, you still feel like you want to believe that something is happening that is bigger than what you're seeing. But if you get to know me, I like to find intention in things that don't have maybe warrant intention. But what the film does best is present something that's ultimately not interesting at all unless you're like a commercial fishing buff, and really create like a work of art. What is this, like an S or something? I've never seen one of these before. Damn, White Life of Pi got me recognizing my own mortality and shit. All Is Lost is the wordless masterwork of J.C. Chandler and Robert Redford about an old man who gets lost on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Unlike the aforementioned film, what goes on in All Is Lost has racked my brain a lot more than Life of Pi ever could. With a simple premise about a nameless protagonist trying to survive, J.C. Chandler really brings us like something that is really nothing short of a miracle. It just tells the story of a guy who's trying to come to terms with the life he's lived and trying to face the obstacles that all remind him of his age. The shipping container that hits the boat at the beginning of the movie is filled with baby shoes. Fucking baby shoes. I love it. Hello? Susan. No, I'm not busy. I think anyone any year is allowed to have one guilty pleasure in their top 10. And basically this is me telling you why this movie isn't my guilty pleasure. Beautifully shot, brilliant comedic performances, and just a satire of the American dream that Wolf of Wall Street couldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Pain and Gain is not only the best movie of that kind, it's also the funniest. Base humor isn't something I ever buy into, ever. My least favorite movie ever being Transformers 2: Revenge of the Fallen. Something about the self-mocking nature of the humor is just really hooked me from the beginning. When Mark Wahlberg is doing sit-ups on the side of a building, emulating a man's bicep, yelling things like, "I'm strong, I'm hot, I'm big," to motivate himself. I've bitten. And that's where the movie takes me. These guys might seem like badasses, but they're actually all dumbasses, and that's what the movie laughs at. The incompetencies of these half-bit criminals who are really just obsessed with fitness and trying to better themselves when they'll get any way to get there. Bay treats the characters as if they're normal people because they deserve to be normal people. They're people, but they're also criminals. And so it really depends in your own mind if you want to see them as badass or not. A 3. And now for my guilty pleasure. 12 Years a Slave is directed by Steve McQueen, and I could sit here and talk about how good Chiwetel Ejiofor is, how good Lupita Nyong'o is, how good Michael Fassbender is, but I'd rather not, because that's all that people talk about. The movie is its own best critic. You have to see the movie the movie speaks for itself. Of course, it's people's jobs to tell you that a movie is good, but this is the only movie where I find reading reviews for it boring and uninteresting. The movie has so much more to say than people have the time to talk about, so the film does a better job at doing anything along the lines of criticism. After this, there's gonna be one more. You know what they always say, when it comes to making movies about people walking and talking for long periods of time, you gotta make 3 of them and separate them 9 years. Richard Linklater's Before Midnight is the 3rd installation of the superhero saga that grossed over $10 billion in the United States alone. Before Midnight actually had me really excited about it when I got in, and Ethan Hawke was just there waiting for me, as it seems, as if he's been waiting for me all these 9 years. You're reintroduced to these characters as if you never left them. What makes this one more special, in my opinion, is the different activities they do. That sounds like I'm talking about an expansion pack for The Sims. Before Midnight, Dub Edition. But they have a dinner conversation with other people that you really haven't seen at all in the other movies. They've never had conversations with other people, and it's just really fascinating because these characters are so great and you almost feel like you're in the middle of something that you really want to be a part of. This is 4D. There's an actual love scene that you haven't seen in the other films, and it's interrupted, and you feel like you're intrusive, and the audience is just uncomfortable the entire time because you're watching a couple fight. That's my Jesse and Celine! Celine and Jesse! Jesse and Celine. But just perfectly done. Like, beautifully shot, beautifully written. Julie Delpy is incredible. Just one of my favorite movies of the year. Number 1. When it comes to films that deal with identity and purpose, my top 10 is full of them. You got your Inside Llewyn Davises. You got your Blue is the Warmest Colors. You got your Leviathans. You got your All Is Lost. And you know what you got too? You got your best movie of 2013. Grudge Match. Grudge Match is Robert Downey Jr. and Kevin Bacon going at it. You got Gravity. I'm honestly tired of talking about Gravity because it's honestly all I've talked about since I've seen Gravity. Honestly, I haven't seen anything quite like Gravity since I've seen Gravity. And Gravity is all I think about, and it's all around me, and it's all encompassing, and things travel at 9.8 whatever. I'm kind of bad at science. Alfonso Cuarón has seemingly uncut shot at the beginning of this film. It's the first scene of the film, and it's wonderful. There's parts flying, and there's space, and Sandra Bullock's flipping, and George Clooney's flying around, and there's some other guy, and you're just already in this world like, yes, okay, I'm in it, and I believe whatever is going to happen. But what happens is not your typical action, thriller, suspenseful sci-fi space movie, but what happens is Sandra Bullock's quest for finding herself, rebirth. The imagery of her being reborn into the space shuttle just begins everything. When people are writing off the George Clooney character because they believe that he's degrading her, but in the sense that every question he asks has to do with her own personal quest for her identity. She's a woman named Ryan with short hair who's doing what's typically a man's job. She really has no idea what she's doing on Earth, so she's not on Earth. And her quest is not only just one of the most thrilling experiences I've had at a movie all year. It's honestly just beautiful to look at. The sound editing of this film is incredible. I was in space. I was in space. I watched this in 3D and I was in space. I could tell you that I came back down. Like, oh hey, John, I just got back from space. It's not gravity in space. There's no gravity in space. I loved this film so much. So that's my top 10. Please talk about your top 10 list, please. Like, in the comments. You want to message me, talk about it? Just want to talk about your day? You want to tell me how lunch was? That's great too. I would love to hear it. Tell me what you thought about the video. Comment, like, do all that stuff. It's all good. Love it. Love greatness, incredibleness, film, cinema, celluloid, film sprockets. Cut.
Worst.